All right, so we're looking at number 4. I'm going to move the x over with the negative 8. So we're going to subtract x. This is me cancel out the x, so that's going to give me negative y is equal to negative x minus 8. Now this is kind of a fun one because whenever we have this coefficient, whenever our y is negative, we can't have that be our answer. We're not looking for what negative y equals. We're looking for what y is equal to. So I have to get rid of that negative. So if I multiply by a negative 1, you can also divide by a negative 1, that's going to change all of my signs. So all I really need to remember is when I have a negative coefficient like that, I'm just going to flip all of my signs. So this is going to become y is equal to positive x and then positive 8. So we've now put it in slope-intercept form. And my slope is going to be the coefficient with x. Again, we're going back to that imaginary 1. That imaginary 1 is going to imaginary coefficient. And that imaginary coefficient is 1. And then our b is going to be positive 8. Hopefully you got that right. And we're going to move on to number 5. Okay, number 5, again, we're going to move the 4x over. So we're going to subtract 4x from both sides. This gives me negative y is equal to, now 0 minus 4x, the 0 minus 4x is just going to leave us 4x, so we're going to just remove that, okay? 0 is, again, that's one of those invisible math things. Really, every one of these has a plus 0 in it, okay? Now we're going to divide and flip our numbers of the negative 1. So this becomes y is equal to 4x. Don't forget your x. Okay? Now, if you notice, and hopefully you're starting to see a trend here, this number, this constant without a variable, will be related to your y-intercept. Now, depending on what you're ending up having to divide by, it won't always be that specific number, but in many cases it will be that specific number, especially when you have no coefficients with x and the y value. So now our slope is the coefficient with x, so that's 4, and then our b, since there's no b there, our b is going to be 0. All right, and now let's try number 6. I'm going to move the 3x over, so subtract 3x. This becomes negative 2y is equal to negative 3x minus 14. Hopefully at this point you're starting to get faster at this. We're going to subtract by negative 2. That's going to cancel. So this is going to give me y is equal to, now again, we have a negative divided by a negative, which will give us a positive. So that will give me 3 halves x positive 14 divided by 2 is 6. So that's going to give me a b of equal to 6 and an m of equal to 3 halves. Don't get discouraged. If you make a sign error, don't get discouraged on that. It is like the most common error, even when you've mastered mathematics and all that kind of stuff, you'll still make those sign errors. It's just a quick mistake, an easy mistake, especially when you're going fast. So don't stress and get bogged down on understanding that and worried about if you make that mistake. The most important concepts that you really want to make sure that you're focusing on is the fact that when we move a term from one side of the equation to the other, we have to do division. We have to do the opposite side, or the opposite operation. So when you're addition, you have to do subtraction. When you're multiplication, you have to do division. When you're division, so when you have a fraction, you're going to have to multiply. Okay, so let's go to number 7, and I want to remind you, again, we're going to do this real quick. I'd recommend that you pause this video and try to do 7 and 8 on your own. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So number 7 has a GCD or GCF of 2. That means that I can divide all 3 terms by 2. So if I divide all 3 terms by 2, this becomes negative 3x, then positive 2y, and then that's going to be equal to 10. So this makes smaller numbers that are going to be easier for me to manipulate. So I'm going to move the 3x over. Now, unlike the other ones, so it's not always subtracting. This one's negative 3x, so that means that I'm going to have to add. So we're going to remember opposite operation in order to move it across that equal sign. We're not combining like terms. So this is going to leave me 2y is equal to 3x plus 10. Oops, accidentally put plus 0. We're going to divide by 2. That's going to give me y is equal to 3 halves x plus 5. So our b is going to be 5, and our slope is going to be 3 halves. And then the last one here, we're going to continue as the normal step. So we're going to move that x over. So subtract. This is going to give me 5y is equal to negative x minus 15. We're going to divide by 5. That's going to give me y is equal to negative x over 5. Or you could also say negative 1/5 x minus 3. I personally actually like writing it this way, just because that way I don't make the mistake and say that my slope is negative x over 5. My slope is not negative x over 5. My slope is negative 1 over 5. Because remember, this is your rise, this is your run. And your rise is related to the change in y, not the change in x. All right? Or rather, it's the change in y over and then the change your run, which is the change in x. Okay? Now, our b is going to be negative 3. So we are done. All right, I will see you in the next video where I'm going to go ahead and not go over 9 through 12. I think you're going to be okay just as long as you go back and watch these videos. In the next video, I will go over 13, 14.